Good evening, everyone. My name is Jen Congdon, and I am moderating this session today on AI. I have an amazing panel of colleagues from various different industries that will introduce themselves as we go through these kind of dynamic topics. I am the Chief Human Resources Officer at M Financial Group, based out of Dallas, Texas. So I thought I might start this off with you, Wooly. Have you begun utilizing generative AI in your business? And if so, what use cases have you either established or begun working on?
Yeah, sure, Jen. So Jen, obviously my name is Steve. I work for Genpact. We're a tech services and solutions organization. And we're actually on our own AI first, journey to becoming an AI first, company. And so from our standpoint, it's not just from an internal, how we use the AI, but actually how do we help other clients leverage and get the value from AI. We actually, this year we launched an effort to take an ambition target to deploy AI across our organization. And the first reason really is to establish, credibility. We label it client zero. And so how do we take our own use cases and build credibility and bring that to our clients? And then obviously, for driving efficiency, improvement experience, and so forth. So we've implemented a lot of different tools, and within HR specifically, we launched a tool called AI Guru. It's now launched to 85% of our workforce. We have about 135,000 people globally. And this is a digital learning assistant. Basically, it will help somebody take their resume. You can upload your resume. It will parse out what skills you have. It will intuit skills and translate that into a learning path. And with direct links to that learning, all within a few seconds. You can ask it questions on any type of content. It will respond to you as like a learning coach. And there's various other different, benefits of using this. We also launched a tool called HRpedia. It is basically it's an HR chatbot. So this is a Gentic tool that we use. It'll obviously answer any typical HR questions, but it'll also help you process any type of workforce administration needs, regardless of where you are globally. You want to know your PTO, and you want to log a PTO, you want to understand maternity leave, understand that process. It answers all of that in a way that helps the employee have a better experience and have all this information at their fingertips without the use of a person.
Well, were both of those systems homegrown?
Yes, yeah. They're both on OpenAI. We different technology background, but we both built both of them. We also use AI-powered fraud analysis. So when we do variable incentive payouts every month. And so there's always a risk of managers and other bad actors potentially colluding. And so we use that to actually detect fraud in our incentive payouts. We do AI-enabled video interviews. So the tool will actually pick up on body language, tone, facial expressions, as well as will provide an output on the evaluation mapped to a structured competency model. So it helps actually alleviate human judgment, which we know that can be biased. And we have like AI-powered job matching engine. So, a lot of our world is matching people to projects. And, we need help with that. It has to be right real point in time. And AI enables us to do that. It helps intuit the skills. It helps match it to the opportunities that are available in real time. Those are just a few of those use cases we've deployed at Genpact.
That's amazing. It's certainly a lot further along and down the path than we are, but I might get your phone number after this. It's terrific. Shannon, what about you? Same question, just around how you've been utilizing generative AI in your business.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. So I'm Shannon Flynn. I'm the Vice President of Corporate HR at a company called Fortive. We are a $6 billion business. We have 16 different companies in our portfolio, from traditional manufacturing to software businesses to healthcare devices. So we're in a number of different industries. I'll take a little bit different approach. So not just kind of what we're doing within kind of an HR organization, but as a company, I would say we're a couple of years into our AI journey. And it's really started from the top with our CEO and our entire leadership team encouraging every single employee to use AI, making it available to everybody. I know at our Fortive Leadership Conference 2 years in a row, we've had Ethan Mollick come in, who's from Wharton, and he's kind of an AI expert, if there is such a thing, because it's changing so fast. But he's come in and challenged us to have every employee spend at least 10 hours trying AI and try it on different kinds of things. We've done a couple things. So we've done some buying of technology. So within the HR space, we definitely bought a talent intelligence platform that's built on AI that's going to help with job matching, recommending skills of the future that we need to be thinking about based off of the kinds of roles we tend to hire, more career pathing. So having the technology learn our roles and our people and our skills enough that it can actually say, hey, here's a job that you might be interested in, go talk to the manager, or here's some things you might want to develop so that you're better qualified for this role in the future. So we're starting to go down that path with some kind of off the shelf technology. And then we're doing a lot of homegrown things. So we have a data science team that our companies can tap into and look for opportunities to create new kinds of things. And most of these that they're helping with are revenue generating opportunities. And so we can get into some of that a little bit later. But I love the, we've built a lot of just platforms internally. I think I looked the other day and we have 25 unique tools that we built internally that are AI based, from image generation to text creation to all kinds of things. And so I think we're early in the journey. There's a lot of productivity improvement. There's a lot of curiosity and fun. And then we've got some very specific business problems that we're going after. So it's exciting.
It's exciting. That's terrific. Patrick, what about you? Same question.
All right. So Patrick Felder, Senior Vice President, Employee Success for Salesforce. And so like my two previous colleagues, for us, we are kind of customer zero. And we've been working with AI and large language models for many, many years prior to kind of, I think, this generative explosion. But I think where we are now, as you kind of think about the third wave of AI, we spent a lot of time talking about Agentforce. And for Salesforce, Agentforce is kind of the next wave where you think about there was predictive at first and there were co-pilots. And now that we're into this agentic era. And so throughout all parts of our business, as Willie kind of talked about. So within our data cloud or our engineering organization, we're using generative AI to make code more efficient with our Code Genie. If you think about where we do what we do in ES, we're using it across employee success, which is HR for us, around how we think about, solving problems for our team members as it relates to the customer experience for benefits enrollment, or for our employee success folks who are working with ER cases. And if you think about this even further with leaders, we have something called Manager 360 or Manager 360, where within the flow of work in Slack, leaders can go in, get all the information, all the data around their employee populations, and they get nudges and they get information using generative AI that kind of consolidates all the information that a manager would need. Headcount, all the what do you call those organizational health metrics, all that thing kind of at their fingertips. And we're using AI to kind of bring all that information together, and you get information. I get information regularly on my team. How return to office has been a big issue. Well, how do they return to office? Am I doing my quarterly check-ins? Is it time for check-ins? And we're using AI to kind of help set up those check-ins for our team members. And so, like everyone else, I think we're all running really fast down the journey, but Agentforce is kind of core to our business, and so is generative AI, and it has been for quite some time.
And you started to touch on this a little bit about how you've experimented with or committed to agentic AI. What best practices have you implemented to ensure they function according to your values, integrate with your existing workflows, and enhance your employee acceptance or experience? Sorry.
So one of our key values, of course, is equality and trust. Those are two of our kind of core values. And one of the things as you think about AI is, how do we think about that from a perspective of trust, not only for our customers, but also from our employees? And so we have an office of ethical and humane use. And part of that office is designed to make sure we're testing how we use AI. We're thinking about it more holistically. We're actually using, along with our Office of Equality, bringing all those things together to kind of have real people from our team members, from our teams, who are actually testing it, using it, checking for bias, looking at all the different components of that to make sure that we've got trust integrated all the way through the process. This is also cool because when you're talking to customers as customer zero, as Willie talked about, you want to be able to say, hey, look, our own use cases, our own testing, our own evaluation of this also gives us faith in the product that we're taking out to our customers. And so we've got an office that helps us do that, along with all the other areas of security and other technical groups that kind of make sure we're taking a look at it. So
So did you have to do any type of additional like training for your employees that were kind of part of the ethical and humane office, and if they were pressure testing things for bias and all the things? Was there additional training that you did for those leaders, and those managers should know how to best do that and make sure that they were on point with it?
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of information that's out, but I think it starts with the individual. It starts with our engineering teams, our product teams, our security teams, making sure that we're all in collaboration. So the cool thing about this is it has Agent Force across the board has been a collaborative effort between the engineering teams, the product teams, and yeah, there has been some outside education that we of course have to do when you think about this. It's such a new technology and it's exploding so quickly. Absolutely, we had to do that, but I also think we've had some of the expertise with our not our data scientist team, but one of the teams that sits within engineering that has built some of the large language models and has been teaching and kind of flowing that out across the company to help all of us kind of get better. And I think, we have a lot of internal training classes that anybody can go out and take and get comfortable with AI, get comfortable with Agent Force, build your own agent, and kind of do all of those things together.
What about you, Shannon or Wooly? I mean, have you done, I know you all are well steeped in your journeys within AI. Are there certain things that you're doing to kind of really help prepare your workforce for it?
Yeah, I mean, we launched our own training, and so last year we actually launched like what we call our beginner level of generative AI. We had, I think, something like 75,000 of our employees complete that. This year we launched the intermediate level, and we have similar numbers with that. We've also just launched a responsible AI course, which is it kind of hones in on some of the things we've been talking about, and we really saw that as a prerequisite. And as we exit 2024 and going into 2025, I don't know why I can't speak 2025. We're taking a step back because we're also thinking about what does this really mean? So we really have two pockets of populations. We have what we call AI core. These are people like the practitioners. I mean, so we are a tech services and service solutions organization. So we have those data scientists and both internal facing as well as external facing. Not too concerned about driving adoption with that group. They know what they're doing more than probably we do. But then what the other group is we're trying to influence is what is AI fluent. And what does like fluency mean? And it's basically, and we're still going back and forth internally about this, but basically, are you leveraging AI to drive value in any type of responsibility you have, whether it's client facing or not? And in my opinion, there's probably like a third level is how do you innovate leveraging AI? So it's not just enough by identifying use cases of like, this is what we've done before and using AI to make it better. It's like, what new opportunities does AI open up that we haven't been able to really seriously consider before? And how do you innovate? How do you know enough about AI to be able to do that? That's still a conversation. We're still more about what does AI fluent mean, even though we have trained most of the workforce on AI already.
Nice. Shannon, any additional thoughts?
Yeah, I love the way he framed it up. And I think, AI it's a journey, right? So I feel like we're 2 years in and we are full on beginners, but we're doing some really cool things, right? And I think that's probably where a lot of companies are. I think for us, and I'm reflecting too, because I've at my university, there was a question of, are you allowing students to use AI in their projects, right? And I think it varies by school. Mine, I'm happy to say, was fully embracing the use of AI as long as you're not plagiarizing with it. But I think there's the first piece, which is it okay or not? And how do you let your employees know? Are you encouraging it? Are you supportive of it? What does that mean? What's kind of appropriate use? And so I think the idea of, is it an in-house system? Is it, open AI? How do you think about what you use and when, and how do you protect your company data? And so I think we've definitely communicated pretty clearly around how to think about the use of those and how to make sure we're being safe when we do it. Then I think there's the go play, right? Which is just encouraging everybody to get out there. We did a major HR transformation this summer. And one of the first things we did was we had to write all new job descriptions, and we used AI, and it saved us hundreds of hours of time, right? And that's a really basic example, but it was something that I think we just kind of keep encouraging each other to be like, hey, did you use AI today? How did you use it? What did you do? So we can do that. On a larger scale, I think two things. One, we're doing storytelling. So we're really trying to say hey, I did this thing. just a funny story. I was preparing for a leadership team offsite the other day, and we were going to talk about the ways of working and how we work together. And so I actually asked Copilot to analyze how I use all of the Office 365 tools and come back and tell me what I could be doing better and where I'm inefficient. And in 30 seconds, I got this amazing analysis, right? And I was able to share it with the team and say, and by the way, I had it analyze how I work with each of you. And this is what we should kind of improve, right? So fun stories that can like help you be more productive. But then the bigger stories. So one thing I got really excited about, we've done 3 things. We have an annual growth and innovation conference anyway. We added last year AI and data summit. And so really looking at what's happening in some of our different companies around AI and how are they using it. And then recently they did a AI open office hours, where basically we had our entire data science team on site, and you could walk down and basically walk around the room, and they had examples of really cool work that they had helped our companies deliver. And some of these with like $1 million savings or $1 million revenue generation, multi-million-dollar revenue generation that we wouldn't have been able to unlock had it not been for AI. And I think that storytelling and that sharing of, hey, here's what we did to pique the curiosity for other companies to go, oh, we could do that too. We should go look at this. We need to make that investment as well. And so I think we're trying to get that flywheel going. But in some cases, it's small individual steps. And in some cases, it's let's get the team together and go after something really big. And that's where it's going to get really fun.
It's really that's really exciting. I know from an M Financial perspective, we're not huge by the number of people that we have, but we are in the insurance, reinsurance, wealth distribution, wealth management, distribution kind of space. And so for us, AI has always been one of those things like you can touch it, but touch it carefully. And it needed to be in-house. Our tech team built, we use it. I use AI every day. But we had to build our in-house version of it because data privacy and data integrity and all that is so incredibly important. But storytelling, fantastic. All of these different ideas are things that I'm like, I haven't even skimmed the surface as close as all 3 of you have, and it's really impressive to see what you're doing. I'm going to go back to you again, Wooly, on as you think about the proliferation of AI tools or AI-based interactions, how are your employees responding to that? And you talked a little bit, but what other programs or methods have proven most successful in terms of preparing and training the workforce to effectively interact, supervise, refine AI systems, et cetera?
Yeah, so I don't want to mislead anyone who's watching this with all the tools that we've implemented. I would say change management adoption has been the challenge.
Yeah.
We've seen improvement, and obviously with the upskilling and reskilling that we've taken on, it's helped drive that. But it's really about like getting the right mindset, driving the right mindset to develop and adopt these tools on the right trajectory. And so, one of the conversations I was having with some of our technologists is that we cannot have the traditional way of approaching implementing AI interventions or initiatives the same way we've approached technology in the past. The rate of change of AI is evolving so quickly. You have to have an imperfectionist mindset. You have to prioritize speed. You have, like I said, prioritize imperfection. And you have to be okay that this is going to be messy. This is going to not be perfect. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to learn. And you're not going to drive that mindset and behavioral change that you need to have in the workforce. So we've definitely prioritized speed and getting something out that people can touch and feel, knowing that we're going to get feedback. And we normally wouldn't do that with other technology initiatives, but we have to prioritize that to get the value out of it. And so even like I mentioned AI Guru before, slow adoption up. And, but what we've seen as we've continued to learn and find ways to embed it into our ways of working and our operating model, we've driven adoption. And then more we learn, listen to feedback, and improve the tools, it started to exponentially take off. So just you compare Q3 versus Q2 this year, we had 300% increase in traffic in AI Guru. We're seeing, I think, about 56,000 people now land on AI Guru a day. And that was far from the truth back late 2023 when we launched this. when you think about, like, I'll talk about HRpedia, for example. So like HRpedia is a great tool. We technically really launched it only a couple months ago, so still too early to kind of gauge the adoption rate. But we're already looking at our HR operating model and thinking about how this can significantly change. Because if you think about a typical tiered services HR model, tier 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever, it collapses most of those tiers. And now we're saying, like, we look at our COEs, and the majority of our COEs are not employee facing. They usually use an HR manager or HR business partner to kind of, be that gate. And with HRpedia, we can likely remove that gate in most instances. And so now, how do we look at our HR operating model? How do we think about things differently? I think that's where the HR model is going. And so even though that tool still, early days, it's already forcing us to rethink our operating model. The last thing I would say is, like, we're investing a lot in the learning. And so a lot of the learning was directed at the masses of the population, but we knew it also had to start from leadership. And leadership will always give us the common excuses. I know this, or I don't have enough time to do this. And we're like, nope, no longer an excuse. In fact, we're going to invest in this in a way that you're going to feel accountable to do this. So we actually partnered with Berkeley and Stanford and MIT, and we have put every single one of our senior vice presidents, which is the highest level role in our organization, through additional AI training.
Through additional AI training, is that what you said? Yeah.
Correct. So, like, we don't want any excuses. And then the interesting thing has come back is the people that have taken our internal training actually said our internal training is better and more relevant than what they're getting from these prestigious institutions. So, like, it's also helping breed confidence of our ability to deliver internally, not just from a training perspective, but how we're approaching, implementing and driving adoption of AI.
Just a quick follow-up question on that. Given the fact that, what did you say, you have 70,000 plus employees, and that, right? I think I heard roughly.
We have 135,000.
I'm sorry. I stand corrected. 135,000 employees. Like, how concerned were your employees, like, when you started really introducing all of I mean, because some of these are pretty sophisticated tools. And Patrick, I'm going to have the same question for you, because Salesforce is not a small organization nor is Fortive, but how was I can only imagine the number of employees that are like felt threatened that my job is going to go away because of how advanced we're getting. And I know I kind of like the mindset around AI is not, it's not about taking your job away, right? It's about augmentation. And then how do you make yourself relevant and valuable to the organization? But I'm curious what that journey was like with your employees.
I think for Genpact, obviously it was a concern, but Genpact, one of our key values is, learning and curiosity. And we spent a lot of effort trying to upskill, reskill the workforce, redeploy, constantly changing. No one's in their same job for more than a couple of years. So there's this agility that's part of our DNA already. The other piece is, and this is our business. And so as we think about providing value to our clients, like, we have to be on the cutting edge of this. And so it's forced. Well, I don't say forced, but, like, it's a matter of life or death of adopting this, because it's not just about driving efficiency or experience internally, but we don't do this to our clients, we're going to cease to exist. And so I think it's a little bit of a different situation at Genpact than maybe a different firm that maybe is not in this business of selling AI solutions or services. Because I think employees bought into it quickly. Our leadership, we also had a CEO leadership change earlier this year, and it couldn't have been timed more perfect in terms of, like, pivoting the strategy in the organization, aligning kind of different, leadership values, and driving us to be an AI first organization. So a lot of those concerns that you hear some other leaders speak to, while we have that, I think we've quickly been able to pivot past those concerns. Doesn't say that they're gone, but we've kind of moved it forward to the next kind of concerns about privacy.
I would imagine more of the concerns would be in the kind of some of the functional area, right? The traditional functional area. It's like, oh my God, what's this doing to my job? So what about you, Patrick?
Listening to Willie, I think is great. And I'm going to steal the imperfectionist mindset.
Right.
That's absolutely stolen. Yeah. I'll give you credit, but I'm stealing it for sure.
I'll have to trademark this now. I have to go big.
Yes. Yeah.
You're going to have to, because that was it encapsulated so many things in a wonderful way. So thank you for that. I think when I think about adoption, it's the same as Willie. I think, but I think about adoption in a couple of ways. There is, the adoption of the employee and the employee experience, and how are you using that in this agentic era to make employees' jobs easier, getting them information faster, letting them some of those rote tasks. And then that piece of the adoption, I think, is going fairly well, because once you put out tools around careers or well-being or even our people advisors, those elements, I think the adoption is going well. When I think about manager adoption, so if I think about our Manager 360 and how we're using AI in Manager 360, we have 98% or 96% managers are going to it on a regular basis. So that adoption is really, really good, because it's business usage. They're using it to help them run their businesses, and I think that's great. When I start to think about it, though, from our technology perspective, it's a little slower. And again, I think some of this is fear. Some of this is the fear of the future, and if we get more efficient, and if I'm a developer, AI may take my role, and I think some of that adoption has been a little bit slower. And what we're really talking about now is, listen, we're talking about, and you said it already, it's augmentation, right? There has to be a human in the loop with AI, and with a lot of the things that we do from a customer set perspective. Trust is the number one value for us. You must have a human in the loop, because you're still going to need that decision making. And we're all in on Agentforce, and so it is a part of what we do every day as well. Same with Woolly. It's a part of what we sell into our customers. It's a part of what we're doing as customer zero, and so that adoption rate will continue to climb, I think, in some of those areas that are a little bit more reticent. And we had a leadership offsite several months ago with all the top executives in our organization, and we had all of them build agents. Everybody had to have an activation plan. Everybody had to talk about how you're using AI in your business. And so from the top down, from Mark all the way through, Agentforce and this agentic era is a part of everything we're doing. And I also think, one of the things that we've been talking a lot about is having the human in the loop means that there will be tasks that agents, that AI will take over. And that's okay, because it allows you and frees you up to do other things and be more efficient. And so I think, also as we talk about adoption, it is reminding folks you've got to have a human in the loop. As we think about this for employee success / HR, it's absolutely critical that we have a human in the loop. If I think about it from a legal perspective, you got to have a human in the loop. And so I think it's educating people, one, on how to use it and use it ethically. It's also thinking about, okay, how is it going to make my work life more efficient? And then when you're customer zero and you're talking to customers, I had a customer meeting yesterday, and we spent time talking about that and how they're thinking about that from onboarding and other pieces. But it was always, you're thinking about this with a human in the loop. You're leveraging AI and agents to help make your work better and more efficient. And I think we have to continue to do that to continue to push adoption across our organization.
No, That's right. That's great. Thank you. Shannon, what about you?
Yeah, I love what Patrick said about the human in the loop. I think it's so important. And when we think about this augmentation, I think the experience that we're creating, I think all of us would say we have too much work to do. And I never have enough time to get to the things that are really going to unlock business value or really going to make that leader better or whatever it is, right? And so any place that we could get AI to help us with some of that repeatable, kind of consistency work, I think is a good thing. Just to go on the imperfection plan, we have two comments that we use really regularly within our HR team, and I give my manager credit for these. One is perfection is not on the menu, and so that's the first one. The second one is we have to be thoughtful about passing up good work to get to great work. And I think that's a really important thing. And so for me, the AI piece is interesting. I think change management is the key. I think our challenge here, because we were in a fully distributed model, kind of a decentralized model. We recently centralized a good portion of HR. And that was regardless of the AI journey, it was something we just needed to do anyway. And now we're trying to overlay AI on it. But the amount of change that we put into the organization is massive. And so I think we've got to be a little bit tempered about what's realistic. One of the biggest challenges for us, given our structure, is the adoption of AI and the comfort with it really varies incredibly. So I think we've got non-wired employees who aren't online. They're not going to be using it, but we hope they get the benefit of it through some of these internal tools and employee experience things we do. We've got managers who could heavily benefit from it, and we're not quite ready, right? And so we're building that, and we're trying to get some of these things in place. We've got some employees, especially in our engineering teams, who are actively embracing and regularly using, right? We've got the curiosity team, which I would put myself in, which is I try to use it every day, but I'm probably not unlocking the true value as much as I could. And then we've got our data science team that's really looking at how do we solve big problems, right? And so I think in a way, it sounds like we're a little bit all over the board. And in a way, I feel like we're exactly where we want to be, which is everybody's trying different things. And I'm going to find value in a different way than Patrick would, in a different way than Wooly would. But I think at the end of the day, we're all trying to go after some of those same kinds of things. So I don't have a great answer for that other than like, we're heavy in the journey and it's a messy middle and we're going to work our way out of it in some really cool ways, I hope. So it's great.
Yeah, it's been really fun for me watching different people, play with the tools and explore with it and send things out. And people are like, oh, did you write that? No, I use AI to help me generate this, right? Or, and just freeing up to I think all of your points too, right? Freeing up some of that capacity to really add value into the organization and leverage the tools in the best way for your stakeholders and for your employees and for your customers. Let's shift gears here a little bit, and I'm just going to randomly pull out a question here. So we've talked a little bit about this, but we didn't talk so much about the analysis on critical workforce. So if we think about organizations historically struggling to proactively identify capacity or skills gaps and project trends, what role do you feel that Gen AI can play in achieving more effective and reliable analysis of critical workforce performance, market trends? And then to add on to that, because that wasn't already a long enough introductory question, right? What steps, if any, have you taken towards have taken to really make this more possible application, and what best practices, have you developed as a result? Maybe some things that we haven't touched on, if there's some others that come to the forefront. Who'd like to take a stab?
So I'll take a stab at. I've actually spoke about this. I think last Connect's AI podcast I was on, I spoke about this. But look, there's tons of tools out there in the market right now that does this. And so, Genpact, we're going to be implementing a new ERP second half of next year. I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but probably the one that you would expect. But we're very focused on, we've got to have some mechanism to improve our talent intelligence, to enable our workforce planning, succession planning, how we staff projects. There has to be more agility. We have to have a better understanding of who our people are, what skills they have, especially now that skills are turning over and changing so quickly. And so that's where AI, I think, has one of the biggest use cases in HR. And there's tools. There's Eightfold AI, there's HiredScore, I can go on and on. That will look at your people, and without them even having to upload a resume, it will connect to your LinkedIn profile, connect to resumes that you have on job boards, pull that, aggregate that into it, skills you have, says, hey, Steve, looks like you had a similar job as Patrick. Patrick has storytelling as a skill. You probably are a good storyteller, even though that's nowhere in your resume. And it actually develops an intelligence on the person at a level of depth that most organizations haven't had before. Once you unlock that, you can take the same logic and apply it to job descriptions. And once you have that, now you actually have the matching, and you can quickly assess where your workforce is, where your workforce needs to be, what the gaps are, and what particular pipelines you may have to actually look at to be able to close those gaps, all within a matter of seconds. Right now, that probably takes 6 months of planning. And so this is something that we're working towards. Obviously, the implementation of ERP is a long haul journey for us. But it's one of the key tenets that we had as we invest in new ERP. We have to have that capability. Otherwise, we're going to be 5 to 10 years behind everybody else.
Yeah, I would say, there are jobs that are being created as we speak. And that transmutation of work and work that has to get done and problems that have to get solved, you're going to have to be very agile. And you're going to have to use an agile mentality for approaching work. There are roles that will probably be blended across not only our function, but multiple other functions. AI can help us all kind of start to think about that. No one was talking about a data scientist 10 years ago or 5 years ago. It is literally now a research professional. It is now all the rage in technology. And so I think that as the roles continue to evolve, we're going to have the mentality that we have to be thinking about that evolution in differentiated ways. That's one. Second part of that is, to Willie's point, when you're thinking about AI and how it can examine, he mentioned Eightfold and a couple others that I'm familiar with as well, you're going to have to leverage some of these shops that are doing some very, very cutting edge things. But you've also got to make sure that there are no biases, that they're using it responsibly and ask all the right questions. And then be very smart about what problems are you trying to solve and where are you going to get the biggest value for your workforce. Especially when you start to think about all the technology fields and how do you want to do that. And what we're trying to do is really be measured in our approach. We're trying to solve the problems, but we're also thinking about efficiency. We're also thinking about technology innovation and how do we start to kind of leverage that and think about roles differently and careers differently across our enterprise. And so we're using a lot of different tools to kind of help us do that, but kind of all integrated. And when you start thinking about it, think about the gig economy in a company. So having opportunities for people who can go off and do some differentiated opportunities while they have a day job, but they can go off and do a gig. Well, how do you start to connect that? Like an AI can help you do this. We're experimenting with a few things that will help us kind of drive some of that and really differentiate people's careers, because I think this whole concept of evolution of roles and work will continue and evolve.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I worked before I was with M, I had worked at a couple of tech company or technology manufacturing types of companies, I should say, more so, and where you require a lot of labor, right? Plumbers, in the water space and other things, and they're having to leverage AI too, and probably never thought that they would. But we worked on things to make pumps smart and connected, right? And then you've got your field plumbers that are going out there saying, okay, wait, hey, yeah, let me ask AI where can pull up the instructions for X, Y, and Z, so I can leverage it on the spot. And having those different bots and different tools that are out there helping them, and AI is a big part of that. So it's kind of interesting to see that it goes from everything from the trades all the way up. I know there's some fear in the trades around AI and the thought that it's going to take jobs away, but I think that if people do truly embrace it and augment with it, it's a good thing. Shannon, what are your thoughts on that whole topic?
Yeah, it's overwhelming. I think there's so much. I mean, unlimited money and unlimited time to implement and integrate technology, and you could buy something for every single problem that your business is facing. I think we still run into, how do we prioritize what the most critical business problems are? How do we find tools that are going to solve multiple problems at the same time, right? We implemented 4 new technologies just this summer, and stood them all up at once, which we might be crazy, but it worked. But I think it's that, like, hey, what problems do we really need to go after? What capabilities within the tools can we even afford to turn on from a change perspective right now? And how do you start to build that? Like, I was actually kind of laughing to myself thinking, gosh, I need an AI agent to tell me like how to prioritize and figure all of this stuff out, because it's so much and there's so many problems, right? But I do think it's take a couple steps, right? Like for us, it was the talent intelligence platform, which is going to solve around the recruiting process. It's going to help around skills-based information. It's going to help around career pathing, right? Eventually, it's going to help on workforce planning, but we haven't turned that on yet. And so, there's all of these things that we're like, there's a little bit of a, like, you got to walk before you can run, but also like, how do you make smart investments that are going to build that? And where do you have great processes and things in-house that you can leverage on top of it, and where do you just not have anything built today, right? I would say, workforce planning is one of those things we haven't focused on, and it's becoming more and more critical. And so for us to make sure that we have technology that we can tap into in the short term is going to be a game changer for us. Some of the other pieces we have, but we wanted to amplify it, right? So I don't know if I have a great answer there. I think it's there's a lot. There's great tools. There's a lot of things that you could build internally. It still comes back to the age-old problem of how do you prioritize what you're going to go after, and how do you create the employee experience.
I love what you said kind of towards the beginning of that, right? Where how do you have AI help you prioritize? Right. And I just, had an epiphany, right, sitting here on this call with all of you, just around, we're getting ready to do our goal deployment and goal cascading and thinking about our scorecards and what does that look like. And if you just really kind of put in somewhat smart goals around from to buy, feed that into AI and say, help me prioritize this, right? What's the impact? What's the expected ROI? How long is, how quickly does it have to get done? And if you put all these side by side, where's the biggest value? that could be very impactful, I think, to the organization, the tool, the company as a whole.
And of course, the more you use it and the more the company uses it, the more it gets to know you and the better answers it's going to get, right? But that takes time as well, right? So, we've talked to our teams about, hey, we want everybody to put their, finish their profiles in the tool, because the more information we get in there, the better the AI will work. Well, that's going to take some time, right? So there's all of these things that we just have to go after. But yeah,
I was about to say it's a good thing AI doesn't have feelings, but then when you do some prompts, if you don't say please and thank you, you get different answers.
you can manipulate it for sure.
It may very well have some.
That's awesome.
I'm cognizant of time, but I think maybe we've got time for one last question, and I'll just kind of modify a little bit, but just around transparency in the process, and how important of a role has that been for you in your roles, right, as leaders in your organizations? How important has that been for your leaders, so that employees don't think that you're kind of pulling the wool over their eyes?
I'll start with that. I think transparency has been huge. And I mentioned this at the beginning, the fact that our CEO came out first and said, nope, I want everybody to do this. We've got to embrace this. This is a differentiator. It's important for us to do. If we don't, we're going to be left behind, right? And then his ability to reinforce this, all of our executives' ability to reinforce this, every single leadership conference, almost every single video that our CEO sends out, right? It's got some reference to this. And I think that's important. So people, one, like I said, kind of have permission to go explore and experiment, but also as a reminder, right? For me, it's not a common thing for me to do in my everyday world, because that's just not how I grew up. For my children, it's an everyday kind of thing, right? And so how do we train ourselves to get really good and natural at leveraging this whenever possible? And so I think transparency around why is it important? Yes, we encourage it, and how to do it safely are key.
That's awesome.
I would plus one to everything that Shannon said. The only thing I would probably add is continuing to bring people along with you. And from every leadership level, you have to kind of take a pause sometimes and assess as a leader, where is it? Where is everybody? And then continue to reinforce and bringing people along with you along the journey. It's going to be, because things are moving so incredibly fast and we're just overwhelmed with the speed of things. But I do think leaders have to be very cognizant to kind of do a checkpoint with their teams and continue to kind of bring them along on the journey with them.
All right, excellent. Steve Wooley-Woolwine, any parting comments on that front?
I think Patrick and Shannon said it, so I'll say plus one and leave it at that.
Yeah, and I'll say +3, right, to all of you. I can't begin to tell you guys what a pleasure this has been. You've been absolutely amazing. I know I'm going to go back and re-listen to this right after it goes live, because there are so many great nuggets, and I've already got, expect LinkedIn connection requests and all the like if we're not already connected. But with that, I think we'll call this a wrap, and thanks again for everything. It's been fantastic.
Thank you.
Jen.